In a world full of chaos and destruction, four men are setting out to bring you the most important, nonsensical information that you didn't know you needed to know. Welcome to Essentially Nonsense.
On today's episode of Essentially Nonsense, we're going to be taking that to heart. I'm your host today, with my three beautiful co-hosts. Nick Akins, our actual scientist. Josh Myers. What the fuck? Josh Myers, the mastermind of it all. And Blake Williams, our one and only provocateur. Today, we're going to be doing a little segment called Fact or Fiction.
What does that mean?
Provocateur? Oh, geez. It means you like to do and say provocative things to elicit reactions from people.
I like it.
Yeah,
It's literally what you do. All right. In today's time, the lines are really blurring between science fiction and reality. So we have real walking robots, prosthetics that can be moved by brainwaves, and even to an extent jetpacks. If you guys haven't seen those, highly recommend looking it up. And I'm going to be taking
Elon Musk too.
No. It's I forget what company it's from, but it's not from him. He just had the flamethrowers and some other weird shit like Neuralink.
Already derail your conversation, but is he an alien?
I mean, honestly, he probably is.
I really think he is.
Look at all the facts, right? This man comes out of South Africa, and just suddenly says he wants to go to Mars. I don't know.
Well, what I think
Did
is if we've all seen the hit movie Venom with Tom Hardy, and Venom was a little pussy on his planet, comes to Earth, and he's a badass. I think the same thing for Elon Musk.
Just like Superman.
His homeworld. Yeah, on his homeworld, he's a fucking idiot. He doesn't know shit. Comes down here, look at that, smartest man on Earth.
That's fair. I mean, if you've ever seen
I'm
the
not saying
Flash
it's
TV
fact,
show,
but-
like Eobard Thawne took over Harrison Wells, and then he was from the future, so he kind of knew a lot of stuff.
Facts.
Maybe he's from the future, but a future in which we've already been to Mars. Well, that's big. I don't know.
If he's been to the future, then he knows we can terraform it. That's why he's so, confident about it.
That's why he has the best battery tech in the world. Batteries have been pretty stagnant, but they have a supposed battery day coming up where they're going to announce something crazy, apparently. Which it's rumored. Battery day, yeah. What?
It's just where you beat your employees a lot.
So you mean
I thought we were just gonna bake a cake. Batter the.
Supposedly the
Batter.
rumor is that he's done the equivalent of the 2-hour marathon with batteries, right? So apparently this is gonna drop the cost of his cars down a ton and increase the range of them a ton. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I wish it would so I could afford one.
I mean, wait, you can't afford the $40,000?
I was gonna say that one's actually pretty cheap.
It's double my salary.
Oh, I think you should get a new salary.
Yeah. Don't be a graduate student. Lesson number 1.
Let's not talk about this.
All right.
Do what I did, man. Go to school for 2.5 years, party, and forget what even you majored in. I'm living the American dream.
I mean, honestly, do you even have student loans?
I did, but they're all paid off. We're all good to go.
Now
Wow.
that's science fiction right there. You can't pay off your student loans. That's illegal.
They're gone.
It's illegal. I
Can
think.
you start paying mine?
I mean, you know what? You are a friend. I will help you out.
$1 a
Wow.
year.
Blake, you can get bent.
Oh, that's fine. I'm already getting bent, so D&E's giving me the real D.
Oh gosh, dude. Don't even want to talk about it. I'm supposed to
Wow.
present a capstone project on using machine learning to combat the social communication barrier between the deaf and the hearing, but they want me to do it over a video call. Absolutely ridiculous. I told him to shove it. So
Irony.
God, D&E is horrible.
I told him I'm not doing it. I told him I'll do it
Oh
next
my
year if I'm
God.
still around.
That is insane.
Alright, regardless, back to the segment here, fact or fiction. What I'm going to be doing is taking a few ideas, concepts, or products from the topic of science fiction and the real world and describing them in some fashion. And once I'm done, I want each of you to think about whether you think this is a real thing or if it's from fiction and why. And you can ask me questions about them, but I probably won't know the answers, so good luck with that.
Okay, fair enough.
I've actually got 7 things lined up, and I'm not going to tell you how many are real or how many are fictional. But what I will do is tell you the names right now. So we've got weaponized advertisements, grip shoes, auto ML, the Hush Corner, pet cloning,
Ooh.
the Escaladdered, and Elvis from space.
I like that.
All right, any questions?
Can we start with
It's
Elvis
all
from
clear.
space?
Yeah, we can start with Elvis from space. All right. So here's the lowdown of it. Basically, there were these new things that were discovered at least a year or two ago called gravitational waves. That's a fact. And what happened is there were some gravitational waves that actually harmonized with the Elvis Presley song "Can't Help Falling in Love." So what happened is this cosmic event produced gravitational waves playing the first few notes of the song. And researchers say that this note combination is unusual considering that the orbiting black holes usually only emanate a single frequency. So we've got 2 black holes that are swirling around each other and they're playing an Elvis song. Fact or fiction?
I'm going to say fact.
Why?
Like Elon Musk, I also believe Elvis was from outer space. Because full on disappeared. I don't think he actually died in Tennessee, wherever the fuck. I also think he just disappeared. And the government said he had a funeral. Said he died. He didn't. He's also in outer space singing his songs.
Interesting take. I'm going to say it's fiction.
I'm going to go with fiction as well.
Why? What do you mean? Elvis can't be, or the black holes can't be playing Elvis songs?
I think it would be one hell of a coincidence.
I think some idiot in the background was playing Elvis on his MP3 player with his headphones on.
MP3 player? What
And
is
it
this,
just picks up.
2007?
Well, yeah, I figured this is where the data was coming from.
You're going to get your iPod Nano out next, you piece of shit.
Whoa. You think nanos were invented by now? No.
Get a fucking Zune, you asshole.
Alright, should I save all of the answers till the end or give you them in between?
I'm curious. I think I want to know.
Yeah, I want to know as we go.
This one's actually fact. It just happened
Oh, that's
a few days ago. So what happened is the black holes that were orbiting, one was 3 times larger than the other one, and it actually was able to produce multiple frequencies instead of just the one. Pretty interesting stuff.
So what you're saying is if you go through a black hole, you end up in a different timeline.
Yes.
And in
Where
that
Elvis is.
timeline, that's where Elvis is alive.
I mean,
So
it's not impossible.
But it is implausible.
Well, yeah, but
I was actually watching Ancient Aliens last night in bed, and this is true. And they were talking about the Bermuda Triangle and how it could be a gateway through a black hole. Could it be possible? Now, hear me out. That Elvis went to the Bermuda Triangle, and a doorway opens from either side. So aliens can come in, we can go in their side. So Elvis is on the other side of this doorway, playing his songs, crying for help.
You know,
Is that possible at all in your scientific expertise?
in my scientific expertise, absolutely.
Yes.
I don't see why not. I mean, fuck what? Fuck it. Who cares? Elvis is alive, and he's calling for help by playing "Can't Help Falling in Love," and it's coming out through these black holes. That's just there. It is
There it
science.
is.
There's science fact right there.
As a PhD candidate, I agree.
Perfect. See, our actual scientist weighed in. All right. So staying on the topic of sound, I'm actually going to move to the Hush Corner. So, in the early to mid 1900s, some buildings, mostly luxury houses or like important government buildings, had these things called hush corners, where people could talk and no sound from the inside could be heard. But these had a few problems, such as lip reading, as the corners were see-through. So if someone could read lips, the hush corners didn't really help. The technology wasn't widely available and super expensive, so they just fell through the wayside, and that's why we don't have them today. It wasn't really worth the cost with the emergence of the more commonplace telephones. Fact or fiction?
I think it's fact.
I'm going with fact.
So to get this clear, they made a room
Yes.
in place of a telephone.
Well, no. So the room was soundproof, so people could talk to each other without anyone else hearing it. I've actually been in a soundproof room before in the observatory that I worked in, and it was crazy.
Right.
So basically, no sound is coming out, and they can speak in private.
Compared to a telephone, but I'm gonna say fiction, because I'm gonna say fiction. Because a telephone I use to talk to people long distances from me.
Well, right, but so the reason why these fell out is because the telephone was emerging, so people could talk from their homes and such, and didn't have to meet in a place to actually speak. All right, so why do you?
I'm still gonna stick with fiction. I'm still sticking with fiction. This is a little fishy to me.
All right, Nick, why do you think it's fact?
I feel like I've seen movies with similar types of premises, and I'm just going to go off of that.
The movie theory. I like it.
All right, Blake, what do you think?
I think they're able to play a high enough frequency to where our ears just drowned out the rest of the noise coming out from our mouths, but we don't hear the frequency either.
I'm confused by what you said, but I'm gonna roll with it.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So here's the answer. It's actually fiction. It's from a book. It's from a book called Double Star by Robert Heinlein in 1956.
And check that scoreboard.
Yeah, that's 2-0, guys.
We got 5 left. It's fine. I'm not worried.
All right, I'll give you an easy one. How about this? Let's go to AutoML. It stands for Automatic Machine Learning. So we kind of already know about machine learning. Basically what it does is data comes in and somebody writes code that can do things such as categorize it or figure out patterns or make predictions, etc. But here we have a machine learning program that writes itself better than the people that developed it. So basically, a few years ago, there was an artificial intelligence, and I don't mean general artificial intelligence like crazy robots or anything like that. If you've seen the movie iRobot, absolutely not that. But it was created and can now write code that is up to 80% better than actual humans. And these guys that wrote this are the experts of the field of computer science. So can their code write code better than them? And is that even possible? I mean, if they're so intelligent, how come their code is smarter? Fact or fiction?
I'm gonna say fact. 100% fact. I think that
I'm going with.
You think what, Josh?
I'm going with fact as well.
I think it's fact, strictly off the fact that humans are limited. We can do things up to a certain point, but if we can,
we make errors.
Create something. Absolutely, we can make errors, but a program, an adaptive program, would not make those mistakes.
You're saying programs can't make errors?
I believe we're not far out from AI. I mean, you look at this is not quite AI, but Siri, Alexa, these kind of things. They're not quite AI, but they are adaptive then to what you as a person like. You say, hey Alexa, play my Pandora station, and it'll play, the stuff you listen to most. Now that's also a couple other algorithms with Pandora and whatnot, but I absolutely, I believe it, 100%.
I'll just agree with the group. Sure, fact.
Wow, what a fucking sheep!
Wow, balls are heard.
This one, this one's actually is fact. So
yeah,
those smart people over at Google have created something called AutoML, and it is writing itself better than what people can do. But I think on Elon Musk here, let's bring him back in. He says that artificial intelligence left unchecked will destroy the human race. So maybe that's a warning from the future.
Will Smith has already told us that.
all jokes aside, I don't see how AI would not kill the human race. Like, it gets to a certain point.
I think so. The only thing that really, the only thing that limits it is the parameters we set on it in the beginning. Like, if you've seen the movie iRobot that I mentioned earlier, you know that all robots have those 3 basic rules. They can't harm humans. I forget the other 2 because they weren't important. But they can't harm humans, which is what's mostly stopping them until some of them go rogue. But I think
until
that
they adapt to harm humans.
Well, that would be if they wrote themselves, right?
Well, that's
or
my point, though. An AI
they wrote themselves to adapt to like stop murders and stuff from happening, like break-ins. So then they murder the person that's breaking in.
Well, that's very philosophical because you'd have to identify if the person's house that was getting broken into was more valuable than the person's you're killing's life. See, that's crazy. That's why the detective in that movie had such an issue because in the beginning, the robot saved him over that little girl.
Ties in with the game Detroit Become Human at the same time. It's a game of butler robots who people buy and they wash the dishes and vacuum the house, but they start developing and evolving and
absolutely
they get their own. They want to be treated as humans. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, an AI is to further what's the word? Advance what we're trying to do, like eliminate the errors from humans. And if there isn't a bigger error than the humans itself, I don't know what is. You know what I mean? The amount of stuff that the human race managed to fuck up in the last however many years is, So, yeah. About out. Be nice to your Alexa. Be nice to Siri.
Absolutely.
We're trying to be nice to it.
Say please and thank you to these motherfuckers so that they learn how to be nice also.
And I'm the biggest dickhead to my Alexa.
Yeah, every time you tell her to play country music.
God, she's a bitch.
God, Josh is going to be the first one to die out of us from the overlords. All right.
Alexa's going to turn into a fucking Decepticon and come kick your ass.
Oh, shit. All right, here's the next one. This one's called the Escaladdered. So we know we have elevators and escalators, right? Elevators go up and down. Escalators also go up and down, but they're a staircase. And the first escalator was installed in 1897 at Coney Island. That's a fact. And following that, people were so enthralled with the technology. So they tried applying it to other things, such as the escalator. Basically, think of a conveyor belt turned vertically, but instead of the rubber topping, you have the rungs of a ladder that move. This way, when you need to go up to clean your gutters or fix your roof or whatever, you don't need to climb the ladder. The rungs will just move up as well, and they'll just wrap back around and come back down the bottom. This was what, mid 1900s, or a little earlier, following the escalator.
100%, it is fact.
Why is that?
Made it in the 1900s. They just made the escalator. They're trying to advance themselves. Like, oh, we got all these bricks to go up and down, or all these shingles we have to carry all the way to the top of the ladder. Let's make an escalator to take us up there. So they hop on the escalator. Little did they know, they don't know how to stop it when they get to the top, so they wrapped around and just kept flipping shit everywhere.
And once the escalator, gains consciousness and takes over the world, I'm going to be on the side that it does actually exist. It is fact. Not basically off of human laziness, but the need to make things easier for yourself. Like Blake said, you ain't got to carry bricks and shit up a fucking ladder. You just, hold on for dear life. Thing goes up, you're at the top.
Now, I think human laziness is the greatest key to innovation in my mind.
People want to work harder to get out of work than actually work.
I mean, if I could write a script that does a 3-hour job in 15 minutes, but it would take me 6 weeks to do, I would absolutely do it.
Sure.
What do you think, Nick?
I think it's false, because if you remember, all the people back in the day, they're always like, well, back in my day, we did this. We walked uphill both ways and backwards and upside down.
Okay,
So
boomer.
they wouldn't need a ladder that didn't need someone to walk up for them. So I think that's it.
All right. Well, it is actually fiction. The
They
idea
lied to us again.
the idea was created by Larry Niven in 1994. But actually, I mean, it's a pretty good idea though. Like an automatic
It's
ladder.
interesting.
I mean, how does it stop?
you gotta have a stop.
It would. I mean,
I'm sure it does, but
well, even if you had like those switches on or the motorized wheelchairs where they push forward with a joystick. Even if you had like a little thing connected to it where you just push the joystick up, or you just say like bottom rung to top rung to see how high you need to go and set it at the bottom. It could stop. I think there are plenty of ways to make this thing
I mean,
work.
yeah, I'm sure they could.
100%.
Maybe we should patent this idea. Actually,
This would be $1 million idea.
I feel like it's going to cost a lot more money than people are willing to spend, guys. I'm sorry, I'm not.
well, no. Let's think
is
about
Shark
it.
Tank,
People
I'm out.
spent $800 on a robot vacuum that can cut hair before it vacuums it up.
Mhm.
$800.
Okay, all of this is news to me.
I mean, I don't think it's really that far-fetched of an idea, which is actually why I chose it. I wanted something that was like kind of realistic,
It isn't far-fetched. Like, I can 100% walk in. I can see myself walking through Lowe's and seeing the robo ladder, but there's no way in hell I think if I was a millionaire, I'd ever get behind investing in it.
I
don't see it.
I think the middle class would pay about $300 to $400 for this ladder.
I mean, possibly. I mean, the shake weight was pretty good selling, so fuck it.
Okay, on to the next one. So,
Skip right over that.
do all of you guys know who Barbara Streisand is?
I've heard the name.
Okay, that's good. All right, well, for the
singing woman.
yeah, she is. She's one of the greatest female singers of all time, right? Oh,
have you heard of Lady Gaga? Come on.
Who is that? Okay, so here it is. She's actually the reason behind the naming of the Streisand effect. This is fact. Which is basically when you want somebody to stay quiet, so you try to make it stay quiet, but in doing so, you bring it a lot of attention. That actually happened to her in 2003. And she was born in 1942, mind you, so she's old, right? This is before the end of World War II. And what happened was, in her original case, she wanted a picture of her home to stay private, so she had her lawyers try to do so. And once she did that, the picture, which was only downloaded 6 times before that, blew up in popularity. So that was in 2003. In 2017, Barbara did something else that we would find wild. She had not 1, but 2 dogs cloned. And here's another science fact. Dolly the sheep was cloned in 1996, but in 2017, Barbara Streisand paid to have 2 of her pets cloned from 1 because she was so sad about losing her dog. I think the dog's name was Samantha, that she had more of them made. Fact or fiction? Can we do that?
I'm going to say fact here. And strictly because I know what... Just talk about my wife. I think I'm second in the house behind my dog to her. And I could absolutely see her making an effort to clone our dog if it came to it. So if somebody had the money and the resources... Yeah, I'm going to say fact. I think that she did this. Or are you asking if it's fact that it's possible?
Either one. I mean, obviously she can't do it if it's not possible, so...
I mean, I think she at least put the effort into trying to do it, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
You gotta pick an answer.
I'll say fact. I think she did.
Blake.
Oh, Blake, you've been voluntold.
I'm voluntold, but I'm gonna go with fiction
Why is that?
because I said so.
Oh, wow, what a fucking guy. Who invited this guy?
Yeah.
It's just because he's our tech guy.
I'm gonna say fact because I saw like a Vice thing like a month ago talking about how you can clone your dog and stuff, but it just costs a lot of money.
If Vice says it's got to be true.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Fucking
and
Vice.
she's rich, so I figure she could do it.
All right, well, surprisingly enough, this one is fact.
Boom!
And-
I am horrible at this game. You need to play a new one.
Well, and all right, we have two more, but regardless, it costs at least $50,000 to clone your pet.
God.
So
Good to see my wife spend it.
my mother was a veterinary technician, and she worked up in an emergency clinic in Columbus for a while. And they actually had a customer tell them to save the body because he was going to have his dog cloned over in South Korea.
I mean, you've heard of people getting their pets stuffed once they die, which I think is
Taxidermy, that's
bizarre.
weird.
That's just fucking weird.
For a pet. I understand if you're a deer hunter or something, you want to get a whatever. I get that, but I don't know. Pet, I think is something different to me. Pet is not a trophy.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's just weird. It's weird.
I mean, so the way they clone these is they do some shit with the DNA. I don't know. I'm not that smart. So they do some shit with the DNA.
But
and
imagine
they find surrogate
Okay.
mothers, but they have to find a lot of surrogate mothers because there's only like a 33 to 40% success rate of the pet actually being born. So, yeah, so there's a lot of miscarriages from these dogs. So this might even be inhumane, but like
I don't know a lot about
This
it.
is why they
but
had to do it in
something-
South Korea.
they can. I think there's a Texas-based company that does it too.
Oh,
Anything's legal in Texas, except if it's not.
I don't know a lot about it, but there's something called like ELISA, and there was a thing back in like the 2000s in which they were starting to do this with people with like genetic diseases. So I imagine they do the same type of thing. They take the DNA from the dog and then they try to clone it instead of just injecting like a small amount of that DNA back into the person to get rid of the genetic disease. They just would try to make the whole entire dog by impregnating it into another dog, I assume, is how they would do it.
That
But
sounds like about what they do. I mean, I'm no
I mean,
expert, so
It's an exact clone from the original, right?
they're
Is that what I'm
not.
understanding.
So they're not 100%. That's like a 95-ish% clone. So sometimes the attitude is a little different. Sometimes if you
Yeah.
raise it a little
Mhm.
bit differently than the other one, like the environment is also a large player. So like when you talk about Trigon, you have, is this child bad because of where he grew up or because of that's just how he is? That's the same way with
Sure.
dogs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a little variations, but generally, yes, they're pretty much the same animal.
I couldn't imagine spending that much money
At
on
least
trying
$50,000.
clone a dog.
I
I took him to
can't.
the vet. It was like $150 bill, and I was ready to fucking get rid of him. I couldn't imagine that shit.
Whew. I mean, if you ever want another one of your dogs, just send him over to South Korea.
I can't handle one of them.
All right, this is our penultimate idea here: grip shoes. So, in space, we know there are zero gravity environments, like on the International Space Station, for example. To combat this, there is a grip shoe created, and basically, this is a shoe that connects to Velcro strips they have along the floors and walls of the space station and other zero-gravity environments, so that people can walk around easier in these environments. Fact or fiction?
I'm going to go ahead and say fact here. I'm going to say fact because of all the shit that exists for NASA and all the, whatever. I don't see why this is, impossible of an idea. I'm going to say fact.
I'm going to go with fiction, just because not too long ago we were at the Space Museum in D.C. and we got to look at some spaceships. Hands on, got to go in one, and there was not Velcro anywhere. So,
I was
it's gotta
with
be
Blake.
fiction.
That was also a
gotta be
spaceship
fiction.
from like the first moon launch back in the 60s.
Okay, you're saying Velcro wasn't made back in the 60s?
I have no
I
idea.
don't know
That's
when
what I'm
Velcro
saying.
was made.
It was actually invented in 1932.
What?
How do you know that?
I don't think that's true.
Fuck yourself.
Ah,
1941. You were
Hey,
close.
You're not
Hey.
far off. Wow. It's just a little bit older than Barbara Streisand. All right,
I'm
Nick,
gonna say I'm gonna say it's false. I feel like if they're going out on spacewalks, they just have them on like a rope, essentially.
Oh, not
and
the
just pull 'em
walks,
right
like
back in.
inside the space stations.
Yeah, I'm saying inside. It doesn't matter. What are you gonna do? You're just gonna bounce around. It'll be fine. You don't need shoes.
Well, it is fiction.
Boom!
These were pioneered in 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur Clarke in 1968.
Haven't seen it.
I have also not seen it, so there's that.
On my list, I do want to see it. But...
Yeah, I've got a
Scoreboard.
Back to the Future on my near future list. All right, you guys ready for the very last one?
Oh
Dude,
man, this is a tiebreaker
This is
between
double
Yeah.
points.
and
I want double points.
All right, Blake, I don't think double points is going to save you, buddy.
Blake, if you got double points, tie us if we both got it wrong.
Well, I'm in.
Nick, we got to answer different
Double
answers. We
points.
can't let this fucker win.
All right, so here it is. Weaponized advertisements. So here's the rundown. A company creates, or well, let's go a little earlier. So a personality profile was created by some psychologists at a university, and another psychology professor was paid to steal his colleague's work on the personality profile. And then the company now uses this personality profile to predict and change your behavior. What happens is the company bought a lot of user data, including where people went shopping, what land they owned, and even like where people go to church. And they put all of this in to their predictive profile to create a personality profile of every single adult in the United States. That is over 200 million people. So, in order to change somebody's behavior, they create specific ads for groups of people, and this allowed them to create 40 to 50,000 variations of the same ad to manipulate people to vote for specific candidates that the business sees that will help them. And they also use these to depress voter turnout among opposing key groups. They also have a connected 300 plus website ecosystem that allows this company to mine even more data and see specific stories that each adult clicks on, and tailor makes ad campaigns to change each specific adult's view on different stances. This was reportedly used to win over a few recent elections. Fact or fiction?
So,
Fact.
Yeah, so to clarify, the company has a psychological profile on every single adult in America.
Okay.
And uses that profile to predict and change each adult's behavior to get them to try to vote who they want them to vote for in elections, including local, state, federal elections, all of that.
To me, this seems like a softball, so I want to say fiction, but I'm gonna say fact because I mean
You gotta say fiction. I said fact.
No, I'm going fact because I feel like I'm definitely gonna lose. I'm going fact because you get on Facebook after googling something, you'll go scroll through Facebook and you'll see an ad for the same item you were just googling 30 seconds ago. So this does not seem that far-fetched to me at all. I absolutely believe this.
Do you believe that those advertisements could change your behavior on whether or not you buy that item?
I want to say no, but who's to say it hasn't already happened in one way or another? You know what I mean? I'm like, say I prefer to drink Coke, but then I see all these Pepsi advertisements, and then I just start drinking Pepsi without even realizing it. You know what I mean? So who's to say I already haven't?
That's fair. Blake?
Well, I'm telling you guys right now, by a personal experience, this is false.
What personal experience?
This could tie it. This could tie it 3 ways.
Well, you see, it's so personal, I just can't tell you guys. I just feel it deep down inside my tummy.
All right, somebody
that
get
it's
this
right.
personality profile and just delete it.
So fiction. Go ahead.
This is actually fact.
Whoa! We tied it up.
I
I had a feeling. I
so-
had to say
Yeah, I
fiction
remember
though.
reading like an article about this. I was like, oh god.
well, what's really crazy is this actually worked also. So, okay, we're just going to throw it back to the 2016 presidential election. In places that...
Yeah, that's all I was thinking about.
So in places that Democrats usually won over the past like 3 or 4 presidential elections, so it was like, it's been like 12 to 16 years they've been winning this place. They used this weaponized propaganda machine and actually flipped it by depressing Democratic votes through ads and altering people's behavior to vote Republican. That's crazy.
So is this so technical that it's like no one knows about it and it's not been illegal? Like
It's not illegal.
this
No.
is, I know, but like this is, I feel like should be completely illegal.
I mean, it absolutely should, but
Especially in elections and stuff like that. Like I can see it like more like trying to get someone to stop smoking. Like, that's a good sense.
But the technology industry is vastly unregulated. They can do whatever the hell they want, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
Topic, but look into the Patriot Act. I used to work with a guy, so I'm doing security, and he was an ambassador in Australia for a while, and he said that you'd be walking past a restaurant and you get a text on your phone, the specials. You know, you wouldn't give your number out or nothing. You would just get a text message to what's spent on the menu that day, and pretty much we have absolutely no privacy, whether you know it or not. Any ad you see on Facebook or whatever is specifically made for you to influence you into buying it or to vote for this person or to do this or to do that. And we really do have no freedoms.
Oh no! So our personal
liberties,
were squashed when the Patriot Act was passed, and they're trying to do so again with something called the CARES Act. And what this does is it stops end-to-end encryption, which keeps our messages to each other private. They can see that we messaged each other, but they can't see what we said. But in the CARES Act, under a false pretense to stop sexual predators and pedophilia, they're going to end end-to-end encryption. And
what's that mean exactly?
So they're saying that because there are sexual predators, we need to be able to read every single message that every single person sends. Right?
No.
So that's what they're saying. They're saying, well, everybody hates pedophiles. Which, yes, it's true. Okay, almost everybody.
Yeah.
Almost everybody hates pedophiles.
Besides pedophiles.
Yeah, besides pedophiles, everybody hates pedophiles. But
say no, Blake, but they've been doing this to you since you've had a cell phone.
Well,
you just don't realize.
Oh, no, I was just saying no because you guys said fact, so I wanted to win.
Oh.
Well, no, so this is actually like the CARES Act would actually further the Patriot Act. So, yeah, it's actually...
Further how? I feel like they have access to it better than they get access to at this point. Am I wrong?
Kind of. They actually still can't, like, read explicitly what you said without, like, search warrants and other stuff to go through.
Oh, I see.
But this, it's going to open it up so anybody with, like, a technological background that, like, specializes in security and stuff can actually go in and see what you're sending to people. So they can see that Nick sent this cucumber gif to us, right?
Several times.
And if the U.S. government can do that, so can any other state-based hacker. That's just a fact. Mm-hmm. You don't make backdoors for just yourself. It's just not possible. If it's there, it's there. That's why Apple is actually like, I applaud them for their security. The FBI went after them a few years ago about trying to get in, and they wanted the ability to break into iPhones, and they told them to kindly fuck off in the court system. So it's not. I mean, they can't do this yet, but it's coming.
I love how they're using pedophiles as their into to get into it because everyone hates them.
Absolutely,
but obviously they're going to use it for other things.
And if you argue against that for your own personal privacy, you look horrible in the matter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
mean,
they're
100% going to use it for everything else. Like,
oh yeah. See, I still believe they already are. That they already are reading our text messages without warrants because how can we really call them on it? You know what I mean?
That's true.
It's not like the police coming to your house say you have a warrant. You know what I mean?
Well, I
They
think
they're probably right there right now.
that concern about privacy is absolutely overshadowed what private companies already have on you. Because they do have these personality profiles, they are selling your information at pennies in bulk
But
to other companies. Right now, the
Yeah.
new currency isn't the dollar bill. It's how much data you have. And that's
mhm.
absolutely terrifying. Like, I mean, I'm into computer science, obviously, but that terrifies me. That's why I
I mean,
think
it-
voting shouldn't even be done on any machines. It should be done by paper.
but I mean, TikTok, the app, the videos, which
Absolutely.
is a ripoff of Vine. It will never be as good as Vine. I want to make that clear. But it is a Chinese company, I believe.
Yes.
I want to say, and yeah, they are. It's not a secret. They're giving everybody's information away. They're selling it. That's
Yeah.
not even a secret. If you have TikTok or ever had it, which I did have it at one point, your information's out there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's out there no matter what you do. So your Alexa, my Google Home, these are things that they're always recording. And the United
Mhm.
States citizens do not have the protections to stop them from selling those. Whereas the European Union just last year or the year before passed, I think, what's called the GDPR, which is a data protection right for all of its citizens. But we don't have that at all. Like, we're completely unprotected in this new data collecting world, which is why I wish that weaponized propaganda machine was fiction.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Yeah, they claim it's to stop, things like pedophilia and horrible things like this. But if this could prevent another 9/11 from happening, would you be willing to sacrifice your civil freedoms for that?
No, absolutely. I would not. No. I
I
think
wouldn't.
I think freedoms are our rights. If our intelligence agencies are not good enough to be able to get the information that something like that's going to happen, then that's what we should fix instead of removing everybody's right. Because what if it's not even US based? How is giving away our freedoms
Right.
going to help at that point?
Yeah, I think I'm on that side, but there was I'm pretty sure a whole Captain America movie about this at one point in time. But yeah, I gotta put on that side that it's not worth giving up your civil rights. And
Well, Andrew Yang, he put something out there that's pretty interesting as far as he thought that you could give up that right and they could pay you for it, since basically they're doing it now anyways. So if you wanted some money, the company would have to pay you to be able to do that if they're going to mine your data. And for me, I mean, I'm a normal American. It's not going to make a difference for me if they take my data. But for people who are famous and shit, it matters. But he was talking about that, and that was another reason why I liked him for this election before he dropped out. But because he was talking about that type of stuff where America has no, it's like Mag said, completely unregulated. Just they basically can do whatever they want.
Yeah, I thought his stuff on that was actually pretty interesting, but I think we should tackle the regulation of the tech industry before we start getting into that.
I mean, we're so far into it now, and there's so much money into it. I don't know if we even can go back on it at this point. Or not that we can, but they will go back on it.
Yeah, it's gonna take a large overhaul of whatever system we use.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just more glad he was saying something because no one was. I mean, he's the only one. And then everyone else is like, oh, yeah, I've been talking about that forever.
Yeah, I think he was also
politics.
the only one to say anything about letting or getting athletes paid to use their image or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
college athletes.
Yeah, college athletes. I thought he had some really interesting points.
He did.
He didn't make it very far into the race, but you know how it goes.
He got to New Hampshire, I think. That's when he.
All right.
That's when he got paid off to leave.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely. For Joe Biden.
I mean, when Bloomberg comes in and pays $500 million to the DNC, and people start dropping out, that's fishy, Blake. It's real fishy. All right, do you kids have any side topics?
Yeah, I got it. I have two actually, and I couldn't decide. between the two of them. One's shorter, and it's not necessarily funny, but
Well, give us a snippet of each.
there's a bit of humor
Yeah.
to it. And the second one, it's pretty fucked up to me. But anyway, I was scrolling Twitter there on Friday, and I go to the trending section, and I see a hashtag trending called #Fire Dr. Phil. So naturally, I click on it out of interest. And to sum it up, Dr. Phil just doesn't understand why we're shut down as a country. He acknowledges the fact that almost 33,000 Americans are dead, but he just doesn't get it. By saying 45,000 people die every year from automobile accidents. 4,800,000 die from cigarettes. Another 3,600,000 die from swimming pools, which is an absolute false number. It's about 3,600. But he just doesn't get it. He doesn't understand why the country's shut down. It's like, Mr. Phil, you're America's sweetheart. I understand that. I would give my life for you. I appreciate America's sweetheart, America's bad boy at the same time. But I found that humorous. But
Is he
and
even
then
a
the
real
second thing I
doctor?
had-
He's not. I saw a thing about this today. He lost his license to practice psychology in like 2006, and he still had a show going constantly doing psychology, which seems illegal.
I mean,
But-
I guess he's still
I would think
technically
this-
a doctorate, right? So he could be called doctor, but he's not able to give sound advice, I guess, would be the way I would phrase it.
Well, I mean,
how about
just-
that?
I mean, the thing is, he was never, ever able to practice medicine. The most he could do is sit on that couch and spout his bullshit.
How dare you talk about America's bad boy like that?
No, it's
America's bad boy is Oprah Winfrey. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
it's like, just imagine a world in which if I was smoking a cigarette, you're standing next to me, secondhand smoke immediately kills you.
Sure.
Okay, let's put it this way. I wrap my car around a pole. The first responders come. Then on the way to the hospital, all of them wrap their cars around
It's
poles.
like a disease. A little bug jumps in the hood of cars, just crashes and
Just-
telephone poles.
just jumps into them, and they just all crash around poles. And then it continues forever and ever and ever until someone takes you to the hospital without a car. And then when you're on your way home, you wrap your car around a pole.
Yeah. Well,
What a guy.
my second thing, I actually find this pretty fucked up because it's the county that I work in, Jackson County,
Oh.
West Virginia.
Oh boy.
So I'll just go into it. Thursday, April 16th, state officials confirmed that there are 15 people that tested positive for COVID-19 in a Jackson County retirement home. 7 residents and 8 workers. Member of the Kozak family received a phone call on April 9th saying that their relatives tested positive. And a quote from Rose Kozak, the mother, said that her mother-in-law tested positive and the family has been left in the dark. Quote, things were worse than we knew. They wouldn't tell us her condition, and that 2 of the nurses that took care of her also had it. End quote. Until Thursday, no mass testings were done, and according to Jim Justice, one person did test positive and at home, then everyone has to be tested. And he also goes on to say, if I find out that we had individuals who purposely didn't report this, they're going to be gone. And as of Thursday, there were 37 cases in Jackson County, according to WCHSTV.com. It's the meat and potatoes of this. Justice has said today, Monday, April 20th, that 55 residents have COVID. 19 alone with the staff and 4 deaths. So that number has jumped drastically over the weekend. So it's either, this is a run like wildfire all weekend, or what I think that the unnamed elder care home has been lying about the number, and even possibility of the Jackson County Health Department has also been falsifying the numbers. As of this weekend, Jackson County has the 3rd highest amount of cases in the state with 101. Both the elder care home and the Jackson County Health Department has refused to comment on the situation. So that's a lot of information to take in all at once. But the gist of it is, they have an outbreak and it has not been taken care of properly, and now people are being staying out. That people have to stay in, and as of right now, no one's been held accountable for it.
Well,
I've heard similar things like this happen across like the country, not just there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. So
like New York is a big one.
In my state, we have a Marion County, and inside Marion County, there's like a pretty big prison system. And over the past 3 days, there have been 2,000 cases of coronavirus / COVID-19 reported. And that's because it's just ravaging the prison systems. But we're not going to know about like the full extent of this until we do like every single person gets tested. That's what has to happen. Every single person needs to be tested. And once you're confirmed, you need to like just be quarantined off. Now, I'm not saying we need like internment camps or anything, but
right.
I mean, the prison systems here, like my sister works at a prison, and they have a freezer truck ready to load up bodies sitting outside. And she doesn't even work in the county in which got hit with 2,000 cases and climbing. So, I think that people across the nation, including Dr. Phil, aren't really... They either don't understand the ramifications to the average citizen of this pandemic, or they don't give a shit. Because, I mean, if Jim Justice wanted that nursing home to be either shut down or completely tested, I would think he'd have the resources to do that. Now, I'm not sure they have like all of the tests, but I think he'd have the resources to at least quarantine the whole place, right?
They have brought in the National Guard, but it was unclear to me for what reason they're there. If that makes sense. I don't understand why they're at the building. The National Guard is at the retirement home. Don't know what they're there for. So he's done something, but again, the whole point of it was this should have been taken care of well before this past weekend.
Absolutely.
Because this goes back to at least the 6th of this month when Mrs. Kozak was talking about her mother-in-law, and they can't get any kind of information about it until just here recently.
Right, and a nursing home, that's full of at-risk patients, too.
Well, absolutely. 4 are already dead, and I highly doubt that's the end of it right there.
I think it's crazy.
I mean, I honestly don't think it's going to be any tougher for, America to do the same type of thing, because we're obviously not doing mass testing. So we're never going to know the true amount of cases we have, even though we know we're number 1 in the world. Number 1.
Well, there again.
USA.
Number one. Anyways. Yeah, so I mean, I think that even though we're number 1, the true extent is going to be like, if we were able to ever find out, I mean, we won't ever know. And it'll be like that popping up all over the country.
Well, so in my state, people have been praising Governor DeWine for like being ahead of the curve and all that stuff, but he's still talking about opening the state up starting on May 1st because of all the protests that are happening from, and I don't want to stereotype this, but from MAGA people, honestly, because you've got President Trump sitting here tweeting out, oh, liberate this state, liberate that state, this is unconstitutional, they can't make you stay home. And all these people are going to do is make the problem worse.
I believe West Virginia also has the May 1st reopen date. And hell, you see Florida already reopening the beaches.
Yeah, I did see that. I think that's a terrible mistake. I mean, because once the other states start to reopen, guess where they're all going to flock to? Florida beaches.
South Carolina did it too, I think, today. Yep, they opened small businesses all today again.
Now, I understand that these businesses absolutely need support, but I don't think that the support is going to come from more people dying.
Well, it's also not going to come from the government because apparently a small business is like 500 employees.
Yeah. Oh man, that's crazy.
Amount.
Like I think like
that's a whole other thing.
Blake's business probably isn't 500 people. I'm sure.
We have like 20.
I'm sure. I'm sure your business is like hurting for cash too.
Yeah, and that's like including office staff.
I mean, when you guys lose all your
How could
customers, what are you gonna do? So, I mean, I see the reason
We're
why they're.
essential, so
Well, yeah, but if people don't want, like, if they're too scared to hire people up from the outside because they don't want coronavirus being brought in, would be my point.
yeah.
But I understand why they want to reopen, but I don't think that it's gonna go as smoothly as everybody suggests.
I mean, what do you guys constitute as a small business? I think like 25 to 50.
I
is
would
a small
actually, I'd
business.
even push for less than that. I mean, you have mom and pop stores that might employ 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
So I think
I mean,
maybe max.
I'm saying that's a max.
Yeah, maybe max 3
Yeah,
to 400.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think you need to add like different tiers of small. If we're gonna go like that.
Yeah.
And then that caps the amount of money you're allowed to have, and then yeah.
Yeah.
Guys,
But
I got it.
what are you gonna do?
Let's take over the U.S. government.
Let's do it.
do it.
Uh,
Let's start dumping some tea in the fucking harbor, man.
Revolution.
We're
I
gonna-
got dibs on making the Simpsons story come true.
I think my election
Oh.
heard me.
I'm gonna be treasurer, and I want you to make embezzlement not a law.
Okay. We can, well, I think I'd like
Okay, I
to take
second
over
it.
the Supreme Court, so.
I would like to be the dean at Hogwarts, if that's okay with you.
Oh, absolutely. The headmaster.
Well, that leaves me as president, boys.
Yes, it does.
Oh,
I quit.
he's the tech
You're
guy.
welcome.
I'm gonna puff my ass out of here. What's next?
Well, I have a thing. It's more of the sci-fi angle. Have you guys heard of Skinwalker Ranch?
I
No,
have not, but I am very
No.
curious.
I'm intrigued.
All right. So it's a place, I think it's in Utah. And so there's been reports of UFOs, crop circles, cattle mutilation, shape-shifting creatures, impervious to bullets, like all kinds of shit like that. So the whole story is back in, I think it was the 90s, this guy, he bought it in like the early 90s, and then in the late 90s, he finally like told people about it. So this guy just kept having these crazy situations happen. Like one of them was that, let me see if I can have the thing here. It's that there was this giant wolf at their thing, and like giant as in 10 feet tall wolf at its back.
Oh.
So standing up would be, incredibly large, right?
Yeah.
And so obviously this is this guy's farm. He's got cows, whatever, and he just shoots it, and it literally bounces off. And he says that he sees it like turns to him and just starts getting these red eyes or whatever. And the guy like sprints in the house, and then that's that for the minute at least. And then like it's like every horror movie. It just keeps building and building and building. And then like they start seeing like freaking orbs in the air and things like that. And the orbs would like watch them. And it got to the point where they actually invited out people to try and like see this stuff happen. And like literally the US government gave them money to study what was going on there because it was considered a matter of national security, because they didn't know what the hell it was. And so they were using US government dollars to study UFOs and like, the things that they can't explain. And then it still exists, and I think someone bought it now, but I don't think anybody lives there. But the guy who bought it originally was just like a cattle farmer. It's just this cattle farmer trying to make money.
Dude was just trying to milk some heifers here.
He wasn't trying to do anything, and that's what happened. And then, so I feel like it makes it I don't really, generally, I don't believe in this kind of stuff, but reading about it and like hearing the guy actually talk about it, it just doesn't make sense for him to be in it for the money. Like there's no reason this cattle farmer would be in it for the money.
So
But
I'm gonna tell you.
I just looked it
I don't
up,
know.
and there's another layer of mystery here. It says in 2016, Bigelow sold Skinwalker Ranch for $4.5 million to an Adamantanium Holdings, a shell corporation of unknown origin. After this purchase, all roads leading to the ranch have been blocked, the perimeter secured and guarded by cameras and barbed wire. So, that's kind of wild.
Screw storming Area 51. We are storming Skin whatever ranch.
Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, there's a whole lot of what is like actually happened there, but like I heard it on a podcast sometime or somewhere, but it's just like, I mean, it was insane the amount of stuff that was going on there, and the guy just lived with it. He didn't like do anything. He didn't leave. He just lived with it for like 10 years. He's like, oh, it's just the orbs.
Hey,
What a
you want to hear
badass.
something else?
What?
2.5 hours away from Skinwalker Ranch.
Who?
Guess what's only 2.5 hours away from the ranch?
Area 51.
Area 51?
Area 51. Only 2.5 hours away.
There you go. I'm gonna take a guess that unknown shell corporation is probably like something involved with the U.S. government.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
Adamantanium, like that's the metal that freaking Wolverine has in his body. It's not real.
Exactly.
Like, what is
Come
happening
on.
here? That's supernatural. That is kind of crazy, though. I think.
It's the Weapon X program is what it is.
Oh, shit.
We've all seen how this plays out.
He bought the Bigelow guy bought the property in 1996 for $200,000. He sold it for $4.5 million.
I think this is business avenue number 2 here. Like, let's go buy some random property that probably has some Native American ties, and what we'll do is we'll just hype it up a whole lot for the next 15, 30, 20, 30 years, and we'll sell it.
I know a guy that has a mean
Awesome.
Sasquatch call, so.
Tell you what we'll do. Is once we get this podcast big enough, we can all quit our jobs, get an office.
I don't have a job.
Bulldoze. Perfect. We'll just bulldoze an ancient Native American burial ground.
There's
build
one by
our
my
office
house.
on top of it, and we'll just fucking go. There it is.
Oh, we're
I'm
in.
excited.
I literally ran at Native American mounds yesterday.
Well, Blake, do you have anything?
I don't have a side topic, but I have a good question for David. Whenever we
Oh,
get to
so
that
we're
segment.
into the David's question segment of the show.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, David. So you were doing fact or fiction earlier. It's your turn for
Oh
fact
no,
or
I'm gonna be
fiction.
so bad at this.
All right. Can you? Let's just start with a simple guess. Can you guess what Scotland's national animal is?
Unicorn. Final answer.
I swear to fuck.
Is somebody looking it up right now?
It's a
No.
fucking fact right there.
Is it the unicorn?
How did you? It is the
It's a
unicorn. So how did you know that?
Listen,
How did you know their national
I'm
animal?
good.
because
was the
I
unicorn?
thought I heard it like a long time ago, so I was just going off that.
How is that true?
So then, fact or fiction? Are unicorns real?
Fact. That's
I-
that's it. I'm going with
Scotland
fact.
says so.
Not only Scotland,
Honestly.
but my Spanish teacher in high school says so. So I
Well,
trust
yeah.
I trust this lady. She says that
just
humans
want-
just aren't pure of heart enough to see them, and I believe that.
I mean, hey, I'm not gonna. They are magic.
I mean, I just want everyone who listens to look up Scotland National Animal. Go to www.visitscotland.com and look at the stock photo that they put on for a unicorn. It's the
Alright.
one that I put in the chat here. It's that's the photo that they choose for the unicorn.
No way.
I swear to God, that's it.
I think
I
you're on a
don't-
different website here, bud.
I am too.
I mean,
Maybe
That's
just
the one
send
that-
us a link. Send us a link. That
I'll-
looks like
I'll
a
just
My
say-
Little Pony unicorn.
That's
Not gonna
100%
lie.
My Little
Just for
Pony.
all of our listeners, this is a My Little Pony unicorn. Oh,
I'm
please
telling
stop.
you, when you
I am not a brony.
When
We
you-
will set that fact right now.
that's what comes up when you Google it.
I went to the actual website.
Oh, you see, I don't use Google. I used DuckDuckGo. That's why I don't see it.
I'm telling you.
That's
All
why
right.
I don't see it. All right,
Well,
Blake.
we have our first firing today.
Aw.
I've already been fired once. What are you talking about?
And you'll be fired again.
Let's go.
You
Second
may
time.
think this is democracy, but this is a dictatorship.
Oh shit!
That's
You
why
got
I
the
said-
headmaster telling
That's
you
why I said
that.
Josh was the mastermind at the beginning. So
I just want to be Dobby, if we're being honest.
Don't worry, all the Harry Potter guys will get it.
I guess that's it, isn't it?
any other questions?
I don't have another question, to be honest.
Sir, I do not.
All right. Well then, Nick, I think it's your turn to take it away.
Take what away?
The ending of the
Close
show.
us out?
Yep. Send us home.
Oh, okay.
We'll edit this
All
out.
right.
No.
All right.
leave it in.
Everybody, follow Josh Myers at google.gmail.com. Find Blake on Ask Jeeves. Look up
Let's go. I prefer Grinder, but whatever.
David Magda on coronavirus questions .org//in it up in it. We're gonna get rid of it. And
What the
follow
fuck is this guy
me.
talking about? Fucking
but-
nerd.
But
Stupid
yeah.
scientist.
And it's been another great week of Essentially Nonsense. We'll talk to you next week. Follow us at Essentially Non1 on Twitter.